Hello and welcome back to another podcast episode of Stoke Fan TV with myself, Max.
And me, Sam.
And joining us on tonight's show, we've got Pete the Potter. Hiya, Pete. How you doing?
Good evening. Good evening. Third time now, so I appreciate the invite again. So you must have not been able to find anyone else, but happy to oblige, and
Pete,
I'm ready to
Pete,
go.
we get you on the show for your in-depth sports knowledge and your love and
And
passion for
new
Stoke
T-shirt.
City, mate. You're more than
Fantastic.
welcome back on this show any time. Now,
Thank you very much.
before we get into it, before we get into what's been cracking, a couple of things from us. We didn't do a show last week. Sorry for everyone. We didn't do a show last week. Everyone had an international break, so Sam and I we had an international break too, but we didn't go abroad, did we, Sam? We stayed here in sunny England. And something else, some news. We have got ourselves an official sponsor for the channel. Way!
Hooray!
Fanfare. Yeah,
That's
excellent.
good.
So that's good news. Now we are sponsored, and this show is sponsored today by Match Bingo. And they say on their website, it's the excitement of live sport with the thrill of bingo to give you a brand new form of sports betting. And you see these videos playing on the screen as we talk about it briefly. And your card, it says, have 15 random events from a live football game, like a free kick, a corner, and you watch them automatically marked off as the match unfolds. So you can follow the link in our description, or you can click on the QR code in the corner of the screen. So there you go. This is our first ever official sponsored show. That's pretty cool. That's pretty
So
cool.
that's online, is that? That's online, Max, is it? That one?
So it's an app that you can download, so you can scan that QR code.
Brilliant.
And if you do have a go on it, don't forget it's over 18s only. You can scan the QR code in the corner of the screen, and that should take you to it, or you can follow the link in the description. And there you go.
So
And if you do have a go, make sure you use those QR codes or links, because then they know that you've gone through us. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Yeah.
So you don't need a dabber then, like at the bingo hall. No.
No, not to my knowledge. No, you just need your thumb.
Oh,
Your thumb's
I bought one. I bought one as well. I'll have to take it back and get my money back now. Thanks, thanks,
well,
Max.
mate, if you want to use your dabber whilst doing it, you crack on. Don't let me stop you using your dabber, Pete. Don't feel like you've wasted all your money on eBay on a dabber. Anyway, right, let's get into the show, because Stoke should be returning fairly soon back to Championship football, having had a nice breather. And in the meantime, Stoke have recruited a new head of recruitment. So I don't know a huge amount about this. I don't know if Sam knows a huge amount about this. Do you know a huge amount about this, Sam?
No, I don't know a lot. I know his name.
Right.
That's about it, to be fair.
Okay, so we don't know a huge amount about this, but I believe that Pete, you know a little bit more than us.
A little bit more. So we do know his name is Ian Torrance. I'm not sure whether he is son of Sam Torrance, the famous golfer, but I doubt it. But you two are too young to remember Sam Torrance.
I don't know who he is.
All your older viewers will know Sam Torrance, the famous Scottish golfer. But anyway, I doubt they're related. I knew very little too until I listened to a sports show on Radio Stoke yesterday, so that was Tuesday, and it was a really good interview. Not with Ian, but with one of the chaps who appointed Ian to Southampton, and I wrote it down. He was at Southampton between 2011 and 2023. Now, even just thinking about that, 12 years is pretty damn impressive. So that if we want somebody who's there for the long run, then he's your guy. And he was instrumental in improving their data collection for players around and sort of finding the best players through data collection, instant data collection around Europe. And they found players, but what they also did is that they found succession of players. And what really interested me about listening to this interview with this guy, Ian, somebody who appointed him, was they knew players were going to go to bigger clubs. So the example they gave was Lallana, who they found, they trained, they coached. He then went off to Liverpool for megabucks. When he went, in fact, before he went, they'd already got Ricky Lambert. And I do remember, I've not thought about Ricky Lambert for a while, but they got the big guy who went on to score 30. He went to Liverpool, and then Ian Torrance by then had already found the next player. Now, I can't remember who it was. One of your viewers probably will, but he went on to score a load of goals for Southampton.
I then got Che Adams, but I don't know how later
possibly,
on.
I think it was before that, but that's what impressed me about hearing about this guy, is that he wasn't just finding good players, he was finding the next one after that. Because if we've got a really good player, he's not going to stay at Stoke. He'll go on to bigger players, to better teams, or teams higher up the league. It's bringing in the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. And I've got to admit, after that interview and listening about potentially what he can do for our team long term, I felt really quite relaxed about this season. Now, obviously, I'll still be a bag of nerves on Saturday, but whatever happens at the end of this season, if we can look after this guy and give him what he asks, then he could, even if we go down, he could then slowly start identifying the best players and bringing them in, but also the next players and then the next players. So that's my overall sort of overriding message. Really, is from what I've heard, he's a top bloke. He knows what he's doing. He's very intelligent. He's been part of creating the data, not just using it, but creating the data to find the best footballers in Europe and beyond. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. This could be the best signing for years.
Well, thank you for that, Pete, because that's kind of brought me up to date. Sam, that's probably brought you a bit up to date as well. I don't want to speak for you, Sam, but I'm sure that's brought you up to date as well.
100%, yeah. I think it's positive hearing that from Pete about what was said on the radio show. I've not heard that before. I've seen the page on the Stoke website where they reported him, and it obviously mentioned about him being at Southampton. It's definitely a positive signing at the minute, but it's also another one of them things that we can look back at in 12 months and see if we agree that what we're saying now is going to happen. Because how many head of recruitments have we had in the past 5 years?
We've heard it before. I mean, I don't know why he left Como, because I know he went from Southampton to Como, and they have progressed considerably. But I think they got promoted, and I think they're doing pretty well in the Italian First Division. Now, whether it was a short-term thing and he's come back because he wants to be in England, I don't know. But I think we might have a good one.
I'm sure there'll be people watching, or I think there'll be people watching though that will probably be a little bit on the fence about this. Not necessarily because this guy's coming in and he's got a good track record, but the question has been on a lot of people's minds, Stoke fan minds, for a while now. Who is it who brings in players to Stoke City Football Club? Because we've had this conversation on this show. I've heard it, amongst fans at games. I've heard it on various other media outlets. Who is the one who's bringing in the players? Because now we've obviously brought in new manager. Well, I say new. He's been with us for X amount of games now. He doesn't feel very new in Robbins. But who is it that's going to bring in the players? Is it going to be Robbins? Is it going to be Walters? Is it going to be this new head of recruitment? I've forgotten his name already. That's bad.
Ian Torrance. Yeah,
Torrance. Is it going to who is it that's going to bring in these players? Has Robbins been involved in this, bringing in this head of recruitment? Because it's something that's on fans' minds. Do we think that Robbins is going to get the final say or do we think it's going to be somebody higher in the club? I'm going to throw that out to whoever wants to take that question.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to know, and I think we'd all love to know. It's almost like it's a closely guarded secret. Or again, talking about this interview I heard on Radio Stoke yesterday at 6 o'clock was he's the opposite of boom and bust, and then I remember that quote they said on the radio last night is he's about long-term building, not just buying footballers who are past it, giving them a big wage, etc. But what the other thing he said that was interesting is everyone has to buy into it. And he said when he went to Southampton and he went to Como, he basically got all the scouts that they had already and said, we need you. In fact, we need more scouts to go off and identify these players. Use, every sharing the data and going off and then identifying these players, keeping an eye on them. And then what they do is they identify in Southampton, they identified 5 left backs around Europe.
Right. Okay.
And then kept weekly, probably even daily, tags on them. And they created like a league of those 5 players. And those who started to go up the league in terms of stats and crosses and assists, etc., they then went for them first. So I just think that makes sense to me. He's using the data to identify 4 or 5 players, keep an eye on them, and the cream that rises to the top, get them before anyone else. But you need a team. You're right. He can't go around. But I don't know who has the final say. In Stoke, I don't know who's going to have the final say.
Data analysis and looking at this and this way of doing things is becoming much more prevalent in the modern game, especially with the use of technology and even AI systems and things like that are being brought in to analyze, to put the best or paint the best picture of a group of players and basically help scouts, help recruitment personnel find these players out there. But again, how does this impact on the actual Stoke City team and what Robins puts out on a weekend or in the middle of the week? Sam, would you prefer Robins to have total control? Would you prefer this head of recruitment to have total control? Or would you prefer someone...
I would. I'm not bothered who's got control, really, as long as we know who's got control. I'm not bothered who it is because the head of recruitment obviously knows what they're doing. I want to say Mark Robbins spends every single day of his week watching other teams. He's going to be too busy focusing on the Stoke team. So I don't really want Mark Robbins doing it. I don't think it's... Yeah, granted, you want the manager to have some say in it because it's his team. He's got to manage the team. But I don't think he should have the deciding factor, really, the deciding decision on it because he's got too much other nonsense to deal with at the club at the minute that I'd put performances at the minute as more of a priority. And
well, surely your manager has to have a big say because he's the one who's going to be putting those players out onto the pitch. Surely he has to have complete faith in what they're going to do.
You're completely right there, but he's also the one that gets sacked after 8 games of losses, not the players.
Well, yeah.
So you've got to think long term. If Stoke were to go on a really bad run and the manager was to go, and he was the person that made the decision on buying the player, then that's all on him. He's no longer at the club. And then we're stuck in the same situation as when Gary Rowett bought Ryan Woods and Sam Clucas for stupid amounts of money, and then got sacked 5 days after Ryan Woods became a permanent deal for £7 million.
Well, let's be fair, our recruitment since we got relegated and even in the run-up to our relegation was pretty poor, wasn't it? I mean...
It's the boom and bust, isn't it? Boom and bust.
And that doesn't just include players. That includes managers as well, recruitment of managers. So, I mean, this head of recruitment, is he just players? Or is he going to be looking at other key figures as well?
I would say probably just the players. I don't know whether he's head of player recruitment or squad recruitment, but for me, it's all about having a conversation. They should all be in the same room. The Ian Torrance identify after many conversations with Robbins and the coaching team. You know, what are you looking for? What's your style? And once we know what you're after, scoring on the break, all that sort of fast stuff that he did at Coventry, then will Ian Torrance then know what he's going out looking for? So it's all about conversation, isn't it? Everyone working in the same direction.
It isn't just Ian Torrance, I remember. The scouting team at Stoke is not going to consist of just a head of recruitment. You're going to have a head scout. You're going to have a team of other scouts. Now, some teams like Man United, Man City, probably got up to 20 different scouting team members that go all around the world looking at football matches all over the place. We don't know the full extent of the scouting network at Stoke.
How big
it's probably a lot bigger than what you think. And the data that the head of recruitment is going by is the data that his staff members below him are going by, which his staff members below him are going by. It's a lot more complicated than pinning it down to one person. And that's not just for the recruitment team. That's the medical team. We've probably got 3 or 4 physios, and then you've got a head physio. You've got so many people working behind the scenes in the club. And in a way, it's not really a good thing because there's too many voices going into the pot and too many things going on. When he was coming to the end of Stoke, I heard it in an interview the other week. Football's changed. It isn't the manager does it all now. He's got a team for everything. And he said that he didn't like that style, how it's all becoming all computerized, all digital. Everything's done like you mentioned a minute ago, Max, with AI and all these stats, getting stats and it automatically trying to work out what team you want. And it's making people lazy and it's making people not really have to do much. And it's just taking away the whole, I don't know, it's just taking it away, I think. It's ruining it.
What was interesting?
That's what you, sorry, Pete, go on.
What came out at the end of this interview I listened to was you can do all your data and all your scouting and you spot a good lad playing in the 3rd division in Belgium and he ticks all the boxes. Can he do it on a Tuesday night in Stoke? So it still doesn't guarantee that this guy's going to settle into sunny Stoke and cope with the weather and the criticism and the food and remember we've got Bay, we've got really good issue
point.
with Bay,
So make a really good point there, Pete. I just want to highlight, I don't want to interrupt you there because we've got players in this team, right? Like, let's take, for example, Nathan Lowe. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Now, Nathan Lowe, League Two, 15 goals, 5 assists, I think. Right? Yeah. Stoke, he's come back. He's played 8 times. Granted, he hasn't played first team all the time, first on the team sheet. But he's not first on the team sheet, is he? Striker-wise, he's not first on the team sheet. Despite scoring on his first game back, he's not first on the team sheet. Statistically, League Two, he's done very well. But how do we measure the levels? Another one I just want to bring in, Tezgel. Tezgel scored 8 goals, I think, in the last 3 matches for the under-21. So I think it's the Premier League 2, or they call it, or something like that. I'm not exactly sure the name of the league. That's a lot. Should he be getting a start? Should he be getting some game time? We can't see. It's so hard to see, I think, for people when they watch the levels of the game. Let's take League Two, and players look outstanding. Like Lowe's looking on fire, and then he comes back to the Championship, and he doesn't look anywhere near as good. That's probably a bit harsh, but he doesn't look as good, and it's really hard to see the difference because they're not playing together, are they? The League Two team, Walsall in this case, aren't playing Stoke, so you can't see how much quicker Stoke are, how much more time you get in League Two. The fact that players don't
Yeah.
make the same runs,
Yeah.
all of a sudden. I mean,
Yeah.
those are two players I've just thrown out there. What do you?
They're very
those two?
different. They're very different players, aren't they? And actually, having watched the women's League Cup, effectively League Cup final from the Bescott Stadium, I think Lowe's done very well scoring any. The pitch was horrendous, and massive congratulations to the Stoke women for getting to the final and putting on a good show. I sat and watched that Saturday afternoon. Really enjoyed it. So well done to the Stoke women.
Yeah, shout out to that.
Yeah, I having watched Lowe in the last 5, 6, 7 matches when he's come on, I think he's great, but I think he's a bit slow, and I'd love to see a 50-yard dash. Showing my age there, 50-yard dash between Tezgel and Lowe, because when I look at footballers and who's going to make it, I look for speed. The old Michael Owen, when he lost his speed, he lost his career. So is Tezgel faster than Lowe over 40, 50 yards? I'd suggest he probably is. So I probably would put Tezgel in for the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I just think Lowe is just not got that speed yet. That's just my opinion, but I look for speed in players, especially the subs. And I would give him a go. Yeah, I would bung him in. Yeah, last 10, 15 minutes.
You give Tezgel a run?
Yeah, I'd be Team Tezgel. Even though I like Lowe and he's done well at Walsall in Division 2, having watched him live down at the Bet365, I think he's a bit sluggish. And I think Tezgel might cause a few more problems in the box. Just my thought.
Sam, what do you think?
I'd bang them both up front from the start, 2 up top.
Okay, fine. But would you say that? Would you drop Al Hamadi, or would you not play Gallagher?
No, just replacement personally.
I'd start. Well, Al Hamadi was missing out of the international team for Iraq last week through injury. So it's looking likely that we might not have Al Hamadi for the next few games. So I think it's a perfect opportunity to bang 2 young strikers up front that we know can score goals. As you've said, Tezgel scored, 8 goals in 3 games at the Premier League 2 or whatever it is. And we know that Nathan Lowe can score goals. That's what I'd be doing. I know we're short on the striker front. Going back to the level of leagues and performances, our best signing from the last 2 years, Niall Ennis. I don't know if everyone heard, but he was League One Player of the Month last season and has currently got 4 goals in 5 games for Blackpool. So he's doing really well there. And my friend who's a Blackpool fan says that he's looking like a really good striker, really quick. And yeah, I don't know.
Well, again, is that just a level of is that just a league? You know what I mean? It's so hard to
the space available in the box. Yeah,
I
think it is. Yeah.
The time. Like, I was listening to that podcast between Micah Richards, Gary Lineker.
Oh yeah, the rest is football. Yeah,
whatever it's called, and Alan Shearer.
Yeah.
And they were explaining the difference between the players that don't make it and the players that do make it, and they were saying about the difference. Just the time, the time that you have on the
time
ball
up here as well,
and and you have this amount of time to make massive decisions, and it just made me think, because it must be one of the hardest things because you must see these players playing in some of these leagues and you think, man, they're well good, aren't they? They're outrageously good, but then you stick them in a higher league, and
yes,
nothing
happens. Yeah.
But then people say, well, it's down to the team, it's down to the shape of the team, it's down to the tactics. How much of it is down to tactics? How much of it is literally just down to player ability? And they're just stepping
speed of thought
to the big.
Definitely a speed of thought and reaction times and things like that. Maybe Tezgel has got those reaction times that that might make him stay at the club. But we obviously, there's not a lot more he can do at the moment. Scoring that many goals that Sam was talking about for the under-21s, but is it too late? Is it too much
weird.
stepping up to the championship?
It's weird. It seems like he's too good for that team, but he's not good enough for the Stoke team. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just me.
We'll probably end up at Bolton with Schumacher or something like that.
Oh well,
wouldn't surprise.
You just don't know, do you, chaps? We've coming up to the end of the show. I think we could probably sit and talk about this for a while. I'm sure we could sit and talk about this for a while. Stoke fans watching, listening, what do you think? What do you think to it all? What do you think to this new chap coming in as head of recruitment? Do you think it's going to make a big difference? And also, where should we look to recruit? We haven't really spoken about that in this show. We might just wrap up with that. Where should we recruit, chap? Should we go for youth? Should we go for experience? What do we need in this Stoke team? Do we need to recruit for the future? How do we look at recruiting so we get more products coming through our youth academy and that system, rather than having to rely on buying in players that's costing us through FFP? Just quickly, chaps, because we've not got very long. I'll start with whoever. Well, who wants to start?
I think in a British club, you need British players. I'm one of those, but I think you got to get a blend now. I think the fans who go there want to see British players who maybe have lived in the area. I think that's really important to feel like one of ours is playing for them. But I think gone are the days where it's all 11 Brits on the pitch. So I think you need a blend, but you need to really do your research, and I guess why they've brought this chap in, so that if you do bring somebody in from Ligue 2 in France, then they've got to have the qualities and the potential to cope, A, in England, B, in the Championship, and C, in Stoke.
Sam, what do you think? Would you go youth, Bill for the future, or Bill for now, experience, or a mix?
I think this recruitment window, the most important thing is keeping hold of Victor Johansson and then working from the back and sorting the defence out. And we need another striker. Youth-wise, age-wise, at the end of the day, if they're good enough to play for Stoke City, I don't care what age they are. If they're like Joe Allen in his 30s, wants to come back to Stoke, more than welcome to. I think we're missing a decent central midfielder. I'd somebody of some ability, regardless of the age, for me, don't care. Mario Vrankic come to Stoke a couple of seasons ago. I think he was 33 years old. He was a great player. I'm not bothered about age. Yeah. We need ability.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. Right, chaps, we're going to wrap it up on that. I just want to say before we end the show, today's show was officially sponsored by matchbingo.co.uk. And you can find out more about that. As I said, we'll leave a link in the show description. And there's a QR code that's come up on screen, which you can scan. And you should be able to then go from there. And remember, it's over 18s only. So that's it from me.
That's it from me.
And I'm off to download the Match Bingo app. And it's goodbye from me.
Thanks, Pete. And thank you, Sam. And to everybody watching, to everybody listening, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, by the way, like and subscribe to the channel. Forgot to say that. Like and subscribe. And we will see you on another podcast episode of Stoke Fan TV. Go on, Stoke.
Go on, Stoke.